is Rick White again.
And Dave Rops.
And Philip Curvis.
We're going to show you, this podcast is going to be for the individuals who want to make this really work, really be nice and professional looking, and also very nice to hear and see, and the whole package, I guess.
Yeah, and just some of the things that we've learned over the last 3 years of doing this, from podcast 1 to podcast 401 or so.
Yeah.
You pick up a few things along the way that work that we just want to pass on and share with you, that you don't go through that process, but you start where we are and hopefully take it further and can provide us with some tips.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
All right, the first thing is a microphone. This sort of took us a long time to evolve to and sort of just admit that we needed them. We used to make them in the basement, and we try to get things real quiet and stuff, but in the end, you're going to have echoes, you're going to have things that you don't even notice that come into your own ears. You have all sorts of noises that just hums. I don't know. Buy a microphone is my point.
Yeah.
Logitech makes good ones. You can even use the earbuds from your iPod. Yes, your iPod, the ones that they sell now, have an internal have a microphone that you can use, and they're quite good. And that's perfect. It's, a couple dollars.
Yeah, anything that's going to reduce the echo. And there's two styles that we use here. One of them is if you are seated and working on a tablet, then you can use a stationary mic. If you're like me and your handwriting's not quite as nice, then you tend to use the interactive whiteboard that you can write a bit bigger. And in that case, you want to have a wireless mic, because as you're turning, you're going to lose the audio.
Yeah. Okay. So you want a program we're writing on Notebook. This is a notebook program. There's others. I think you, Phil, use Inspire, right?
Yeah, they're basically the same thing. Notebook comes with the smart boards. I think it's a smart tool. And Inspire comes with the Prometheum. But I believe they're both free softwares, aren't they?
Free as far as I know, yeah. I mean, you get them, of course, when you have the interactive whiteboards, but I'm pretty sure you can buy them get them for free, yeah.
Ooh, that was fancy what you did there.
Yeah.
Magic pen going.
A little magic going on here. Okay, ScreenFlow is what we use to record the screen. It's got a lot of editing features. You can make, still shots. You can do all sorts of things where it focuses on the pen, and sort of everything else is sort of dim. Tons of options. It's a full-on editing software, and you can even export straight to YouTube, which I really like. It's got a YouTube button basically, and you just sign into your account, and there you go.
That's good.
There's lots of programs out there. We mentioned a few free ones on the last podcast, but obviously, if you want to do it right, may as well start with the right software. Okay, so why don't we show you, this is my setup. If we go to the next slide, we have a picture of my setup here. So we got the computer. You can see this is a Logitech microphone right here. See that?
Oh, fancy. Look at that. You highlight the spot you like. You got the circle. You tried to get that before on the other ScreenFlow one you missed.
Okay, so this here is a Wacom board. What do you think of that? What do you think of that? I don't know. I'm just showing off, sort of good. No, I'm kidding. No, but this is a Wacom board. This is literally what I'm writing on right now. It takes a little bit of practice, maybe a little while, but just I call it writing in Korean. You just need to write in sort of sticks and blocks a lot of the time, and everything seems to come out all right.
But that tablet is invaluable. Like having that Wacom board is that's the one I like to use a lot as well.
Yeah, and it's sort of fun to have in class too, because you can just, instead of having students come up to the front of the class to do problems or on the board, you can just pass the Wacom board around, and
the only
can do it there.
drawback with it is if you have messy handwriting like me, then you like a bigger surface to write on.
Really bad handwriting. So, but yeah, the Wacom boards are really, really cool. And they're a little pricey though, and actually this model in particular has been discontinued, but they've got some smaller ones now, like the Bamboo, which is pretty cool and just as good, if not better. And of course, laptop, you can see that this microphone right here is a USB microphone. We have wireless. You can do wireless microphones as well, so you can be at the front of the board recording. I sort of prefer just to sit at my desk and record them in class. I'll just sit down. Students want to, hey, Mr. White, can you record this problem? I'll just sit down and record it really quick with the Wacom board and the microphone.
Doing it live in front of the kids?
In live, yeah. Just a few minutes, and then I just publish it to iTunes, and it comes to their iTunes account in just a few hours, I guess.
By the time they get home, it's there.
Definitely by the time they get home, yeah. And yeah, laptop, everything. See notebooks up there. What else we got? Let's do some tips.
Right.
So,
make it most effective for the students.
Yeah, these tips are things that I guess made the evolution. I mean, this is what we've sort of come up with over the last few years that really do make these things effective pieces of content for your course. The first is don't be a perfectionist. Don't be a perfectionist. What we're saying here is don't take it too seriously. I think the only thing you should be a perfectionist about is the sound. That's the one thing I think you should be a perfectionist about. But you can see we're sort of here as a radio show. We'll talk about that a little later, in a few seconds, talking in pairs and stuff. But
if you worry about all those little details or it wasn't quite neat enough or whatever, you're never going to get these podcasts up. So you just got to hammer them out and then publish them, and the kids will appreciate it. And they'd rather 10 that were at 95% good than one that was that was perfect.
You just don't want something that's continuously annoying. But if you just have something very small, like something in the background goes off, or
like a few typos in a
typo,
sentence.
Or if you even make a mistake in a problem, just erase it, go back and do it again. Unless it was in the first 30 seconds, then you may as well just do it again. But no, I mean, we've had a few teachers here that seriously, they will edit it. They take out every every everything like that. So I've seen it. I've actually been there before in my first maybe my first half a year doing podcasts, and it ends up being a process that could be, a couple minutes turns into an hour, and you don't want to do that.
The odd little mistake's not going to matter at all.
I can only hear myself for so long. I'm sure my students and our students can only hear myself for half that. So I would say 10 minutes maximum for a podcast. If you're doing 2 or 3 problems in a class, or if you're just doing a problem set, or maybe podcasting a quiz, just make it part 1, part 2, part 3. That way, if you make a mistake in the third problem or the second problem, you don't want to go and redo the whole thing. And also the students, sort of get bored of your voice. It's possible.
Research sort of says that as soon as you're passively looking at a screen for longer than 7 minutes, your brain waves change. So you want to keep them in that range. And also when you're looking at doing a long problem, that's the only time I would really be looking at doing upwards of 10 minutes or so. If you have a long problem that has multiple parts, you can't get away from it. But if you've got a bunch of different problems on the same theme, break them down. Also, a kid, they don't want to watch you go through the entire test corrections. They want to see number 4 from that test. That's the one they're interested in. So break it into parts so they don't have to skim around as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
That's why I said it.
Yeah, it was a good point. I started to say something else, and I just lost my... I don't know. I must have listened to your voice too long.
It was over 10 minutes.
Yeah. In pairs, as you can see, this makes it a little bit more fun. Sometimes when you're talking to yourself, if you're making a 10-minute, 9-minute podcast, you sort of lose yourself a little bit. I think it's a little bit more fun to
and
make
I
in
had a
pairs.
student said when I did a couple without my partner because she was gone for whatever reason. Oh, Mr. Rob sounds so lonely, kind of thing.
Yeah.
the whole time doing it. And because it doesn't have the same kind of atmosphere to the podcast when you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
But don't let that turn you off. Sometimes,
2 people.
Sometimes you throw it up.
They also catch your mistakes. So when you go 2 times 3 is 5, they catch it and you fix it. And you don't know.
Another person there to say, hey, you just made a mistake. That's nice.
Or we had a lot of fun making them a couple years ago. If you have 2 teachers that have a similar different approaches to the same problem, then the students get to see 2 different ways to break a problem down.
That's true. Like I like to do a lot of things graphically, more conceptually, so a lot of problems can be solved that way. Whereas some other teachers like to do things algebraically, and it's a good opportunity to talk about both. And if you made the podcast separately, you might have, you definitely would have missed one, perhaps. Yeah. Okay. The encouraging students to be interactive. This is pretty important because you don't want these podcasts to just turn into like TV or a YouTube video where they just watch it and laugh at the teacher because they said something funny, and then they just sort of forget about it. You want them to, like, especially if you're giving this as a homework assignment or something, you want them to say, okay, get your notes out, pause the video, start the problem yourself, watch the video when you're stuck, or rewatch it, or take notes, whatever is making them interactive.